Hey everyone, welcome back to my Loom kitchen, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this pie slice with the lattice crust. I wanted it to look like a old-fashioned pie with the filling sort of oozing out. This is bigger than my current pie slice, bigger and thicker. It is relatively easy to make, but it does take a lot of prep work. But once you have the pre-made items, it goes very fast from there. So this is my cherry pie. I will be showing you how to make the blueberry version today. So click on the recipe link below to get to the recipe page and check out the number of bands needed for this creation. After that, come back and let's begin. Our first pre-made item will be the pie edge, and to make the pie edge, you start off with one of your crust-colored bands and 4 of your flavor bands. You don't have to keep your flavor bands all the same type. Like I like to mix and match my flavor bands. Like I have a jelly version of the purple, I have a metallic, and I have the opaque. So to start, you get 3 of your flavor bands. Put it around your hook. You can use a crochet hook or a loom hook. Wrap it around twice so it gets nice and thick. Then you get 1 crust-colored band. Wrap it around once. Then you get your last remaining flavor band. Pull it through, just through the cross-colored band, that way. Now you're going to push those other wrap bands over. And bring it to the center. So this is your pie edge. So you'll need 30 pieces of this pie edge. You can make it beforehand or make it as you go along. Completely up to you. The next item that we'd have to pre-make are the filling balls. I call them balls because, like with the cherry pie, I wanted the filling to look like it was filled with cherries. So for our blueberries, we're going to do the same. And they look like this. So again, you take 3 of your flavor bands in various types or just one type, up to you. Again, wrap it twice. Now you get 2 of your flavor bands. Push it to the middle. And that's 1 filling ball. You will need 60 pieces of these balls. Our next pre-made item is the crust edge, and to make this, you take 1 crust colored band, then 2, then another 2, then you take 1 as a cap band, wrap it once, and just hook it up. That's it. Set it aside. You will need 6 pieces of this crust edge. For our last pre-made item, we have our lattice pie crust, the one that goes on top, and I've made 4. We have a 12, an 8, and 6 chain and a 4 chain. You'll need 1 12, 1 8, 1 6, and 2 4 chain pieces. So to make that, I'll make the last one. Get your loom, single bands, and since we're making 4, you're going to be using the first and the second row. So take one band, put it across here, and take 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you take another 1, 2, 3, and 4. To make the 6 chain, then you'd go down 6 pegs here and 6 in the middle to make 8, 8, and 8, or 12, 12, and then 12. And you close it off here. And you take a single band, double it on itself, and lay down cross bands. And another single band, and wrap it around once as a cap band over there. Go in, pick up the topmost, hook it on itself, and go up the middle first. And back down here. Then take a single band for the end, pull it through. Don't knot it, just keep it on that band. And set it aside. So again, we'll be needing 2 pieces of the 4 chain, 1 piece of the 6 chain, 1 of the 8, and 1 of the 12. Let's start placing our pie together, and we will need our regular loom. If you could remove the center row and have the 2 remaining rows facing in opposite directions. I have my front row facing to the right and my back row facing to the left. We will be working on 14 pegs total. So I'll mark that off with two single crust colored bands. So that's the first. And we're going to end here. 2 bands. Then we're going to create excess 2 bands again. So this is our initial start of our base, and your layout should look this way. Now we're gonna get another 2 bands and lay those all around. Now after laying the 2 bands all around, we're going to lift all the lower 4 bands up and over. Now we're going to repeat that 2 more times for a total of 3 rounds on these 14 pegs. So pause your video. We're starting with the second round. Finish off this round, lay it around and lift the lower bands over each peg. And after the second round, do 1 more round and come back when you're done, and we'll resume from there. So we've just finished 3 rounds on the 14 pegs, and now we're going to get double bands again of your crust color, but this time we're only going to lay them on one side of your loom. And add so just like this wide U shape. Now we're going to lift just the front row up and over. Don't touch the 2 back pegs yet. Now 1 more round on the front, 2 bands. Now this time we're going to lift the lower bands up and over in the front and the two pegs at the back as well. So you should have 4 rounds on each peg left. So now for our last round on one side, you take your crust edges, one crust edge, and you're just going to lay down these 6 crust edges on the front. So after laying down your crust edges, before you lift them up and over, take your lattice crust and let's start with the 12 chain one. Take the 12 chain crust and place the open end on this last peg. This last peg should have 8 rounds, so now we're going to pick up the lower 4 bands and lift that up and over to lock that chain in. And just set this aside first. Now let's take your 8 chain put it on the first peg. So there are 8 rounds on that one peg, on the first peg, and pick up the lower 4 bands, lock that in, and kind of set it aside. Now you're not adding anything here, so pick up the lower 4 bands on the second peg, up and over. Same on the third. Now on the fourth peg, you're going to take one of your 4 chain tops, crust tops, and you're going to add it here. This time you're going to take the lower 6 rounds. Leaving only 4 rounds on that peg. Then you take the other 4 chain top, put it on the peg beside, and again lift the lower 6. And this one, nothing gets added on there, so just lift the lower 4. So you should have your 6-chain lattice pie crust top left over. Just set it aside. We'll get back to this later. We're going to start filling. We're going to start. Now we start with the filling portion of our pie. And before we begin, we have to weave in our fill color just on the front. So get your hook and pick up the crust bands on the first peg. Pull 2 flavor bands through. Replace that peg with one end of those flavor bands. Lift those 2 bands off your hook. Pick up the second and pull those same 2 bands through. And replace that peg with the other end. Only on this portion will those 2 pegs share that flavor band. Then you take another 2 flavor bands, pick up the next, pull it through. One end goes on the previous peg and the other end replaces that peg. Same just for the front row. Now bring out 6 pieces of your pie edges. And since we're working in threes, we will use your pie edges as your guide. We will have 3 rows on the 14 pegs, and so first take 1 pie edge, place the crust colored area on the back here. Flavor goes to the front. Try to move your lattice top over it so it's easier. Later on, you'll have to fish that out if you end up weaving it in. Take another pie edge. Now in the back portion, just take 2 crust bands and lay that out. Now back to the front, take 1 flavor ball, Just fill up that row with your pre-made balls. So this is the first round on 14 pegs. After you've laid down the pie edges, your balls in your flavor balls in front and your crust bands in the back, you just take the lower bands and lift them up and over. So now we finished one round on the 14 pegs, and so now pause your video, finish up 2 more rounds on your 14 pegs, exact same way. Unpause when you're done and we'll resume from there. We're done with rows 1 to 3 on 14 pegs. So let's decrease now to 12 pegs. So on the first peg, smoothen it out and separate the top 2 from the lower 2. Put your hook in, pick up the lower 2 bands and move it here and release these 2 bands. Do the same on this back peg. Hook in, pick up the lower 2 and release. Now let's bring out 6 pie edges again. And same method, attach your pie edges. And again, there are 3 rounds on the 12 pegs, but let's start with the 2 rounds because I need to show you how to do something before we begin the third. So this is the first round on 12 pegs. Pause your video and do 2 rounds, crust in the front, in the back, and your flavor balls go in the front. And then lift the lower bands up and over. So finish the 2 rounds and unpause when you're done, and we'll resume from there. We finished 2 rounds on the 12 pegs, and we're about to begin our third round, but as you can see, it's getting harder to work with the bottom sticking out. So You can gently push your creation up. Now, before beginning the third round, we're going to have to attach the ends of our 4-chain lattice pie crusts on top. So take the left 4-chain top, grab the cap band, put your hook through and grab one flavor band, pull it through, and attach that to the first peg. Then take your other 4-chain, one to the right. Again, get the cap band, hook through and pull one flavor band through. And attach that to this last peg on the right. That way. Push it all down. Now you're going to get your 6-chain, and pull one flavor band through on that open end, and you're going to place it on the first peg. Now your first peg has 8 rounds, so it won't be so difficult. You can lift the lower 4 bands up and over. Right? I'm gonna tuck this in so it doesn't get in the way in the meantime. Now take your last pair of pie edges for the 12 pegs and attach as usual. Pause your video and finish this third round on the 12 pegs and unpause when you're done, and we'll resume from there. So we finished our third round on the 12 pegs, and we're going to now decrease to 10. And each peg should have 4 rounds. So let's decrease from here. Separate the upper 2 bands from the lower 2. Put your hook through, pick up just the lower 2 bands, and transfer it over here. And release these 2. Then now on this end, do the same. Just get the lower 2, transfer it here, and release. Now we're going to do the same process. Bring out your 6 pie edges as your guide, and we're going to do 3 rounds on these 10 pegs. So same procedure, place your pie edge, place your pie edges on both sides. Fill in the front portion with your filling balls. And your back portion with your crust colored bands. Now pause your video, finish up this round 1 on 10 pegs, and finish up 2 more rounds after for a total of 3 rounds. Unpause when you're done and we'll resume from there. So we've finished 3 rows on 10 pegs and we are going to decrease again to 8 pegs. So from this front peg, hook in, pick up the lower 2 bands, bring it there, and just release the other 2. Then on the back, same. Now this on the first row on 8 pegs, you're going to take the end of your 8 chain and grab the cap band, put your hook through, get 1 flavor band, pull it through, and you're going to attach it to the rightmost peg. I think I want this to go under the first one. So just slip it under the first chain and then attach it to that peg. That way. Then you bring out your 6 pie edges again to guide you. And we're going to do the same process, 3 rounds on 8 pegs. So we're starting with round 1 on 8 pegs. Pause your video. Finish up 3 rounds on these 8 pegs. Unpause when you're done and we'll resume from there. So we've just finished 3 rounds on our 8 pegs and we're going to now decrease to 6. So from this peg, pick up the lower two and bring it here and just release the remaining two. Same for this. Now you should have 6 pie edges left. Let's add the first edge. Add our ball filling the front. And the crust at the back. Now just lift all the lower bands up and over, leaving only 4 rounds. Now before entering the second round on the 6 pegs, you're going to get your 6 chain, which was placed here. And again, put your hook through the cap band, single flavor band, and place it here. Then continue. Now lifting the lower bands up and over. This one has more than 4, but make sure only the top 4 bands are left. Just bring everything under, up and over. Pull it up. Our last pie edge. Now lift everything up and over. Okay, so we're almost done. So from these 6 pegs, we're going to go down to 4. So from this peg, put your hook through and pick up the lower 2 bands. Bring it here. And just release this. So you have 6 rounds on this peg. Bring up the lower 2, up and over. Let's do the same here. Put your hook through, pick up the lower 2, put it there, and release. Six rounds on this peg, bring the lower 2 up and over. Now on 4 pegs, you're going to get your 12th chain, and we're going to connect it here, but you can decide whether you want to go under the first and up the second and under the third, or over the first, under the second, or whatever, however you want to weave your lattice crust through. I think I'm going to do over, under, and over. So get the cap band, put your hook through, grab 1 flavor band, now you get the lower 2 bands and bring it up and over to lock that in. Now go to the peg on the right, put your hook through and pick up the lower 2 bands and bring it to the peg the peg on this other peg, the other front peg, and release the remaining 2 here. 6 rounds on this peg, pick up the lower 2 and pick up the other lower 2, leaving 2 rounds on that peg. Let's do the same on the back. Picking up the lower 2, placing it here, and releasing the remaining 2. Now get the lower 2 bands up and over, the other lower 2 up and over, leaving 2. So you're left on 2 pegs with 2 rounds on each peg. And we're almost done. We just have to tie this off. So grab 4 or 3 flavor bands, wrap it around your hook twice, and get 2 more flavor bands and pull that through. Create another ball. This is what we're going to use to tie it off. So grab one end of the peg, grab the other end, so it looks this way. Grab one end of that ball you just made and pull it through, and grab the other end of that ball to kind of just tie it off. I'm just going to make sure it's secure, so I'm gonna put my hook through and grab it here, and I'm just gonna get a single flavor band to make sure I knot it securely. And create a slip knot. And I'm going to just hide that, take my hook in and grab that end of that band and hide it. And that's it, we are done. So I hope you like it. Enjoy your old-fashioned pie slices.